The fog of uncertainty still clings to the dense woods of Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia. It has been 8 months and 13 days since the silence of a rural morning was shattered by a frantic 911 call. On May 2nd, 2025, at exactly 10:01 a.m., Malehya Brooks-Murray reported the unthinkable. Her 2 young children, Lily and Jack Sullivan, had vanished. The story she told dispatchers was one of domestic mundanity turned nightmare. She and her partner, Daniel Martell, had been dozing in bed with their toddler. When they woke, the older children were gone, simply evaporated from the family home on Gairloch Road. The response was immediate and massive. This wasn't just a local search. It was a mobilization of 160 volunteers, ground search teams, K-9 units, drones, and helicopters. They combed 8.5 square kilometers of unforgiving forest. Yet, as the days bled into a week, the primary search found almost nothing. No footprints in the mud, no snagged clothing in the brush, except for one haunting discovery, a pink blanket belonging to Lily. After 6 days, the active search was scaled back, but the investigation was only just beginning. The RCMP Major Crime Unit stepped in, moving the case from a search for lost children to a deep dive into the lives of the people they left behind. For months, the details remained locked away in sealed court files, protected by judicial orders to prevent tainting witnesses or alerting persons of interest. But on January 15th, 2026, the seal was broken. New documents, obtained by major news outlets, have finally pulled back the curtain on the investigative process. What we are seeing for the first time is not just a missing persons case, but a complex web of conflicting statements, forensic anomalies, and a family dynamic under intense police scrutiny. The RCMP is no longer just looking in the woods. They are looking at everything that happened behind closed doors in the 24 hours before that 911 call. To understand the mystery, we have to look at the last time Lily and Jack were seen by someone other than their parents. According to the newly unsealed Information to Obtain, ITO, documents, the children's location was last independently verified on May 1st at 2:25 p.m. Surveillance footage from a local Dollarama in New Glasgow shows Lily and Jack with Malehya and Daniel. They look like any other family running errands. They returned home, and according to Malehya, the children wore the same clothes to bed that they'd worn all day, Lily in a pink sweater and Barbie top, Jack in black sweatpants and a diaper. The ITOs reveal that the RCMP has been working tirelessly to fill the black hole of time between that Dollarama sighting and the following morning. Between May and July 2025, investigators filed 12 separate applications to access private data. They weren't just looking for the children. They were hunting for digital footprints. They seized cell phone records for both Malehya and Daniel, requested bank statements to track any unusual financial activity, and even pulled video from school buses that passed the home. The documents suggest a tactical shift. When police apply for an ITO, they must convince a judge that a crime may have occurred or that the information is vital to a sensitive investigation. These applications were initially sealed because, as the documents state, premature release could compromise investigative techniques. This suggests that from very early on, the RCMP suspected that the wandered away theory might not hold water. They were building a digital timeline, looking for any call, any text, or any movement that contradicted the official story. As we dig deeper into these records, the discrepancies begin to mount, casting a long shadow over the quiet house on Gairloch Road. The unsealed documents peel back the layers of the relationship between Malehya Brooks-Murray and Daniel Martell, revealing a far more volatile environment than initially reported. Malehya had moved onto Daniel's mother's property in August 2023, but by the time the children vanished, the cracks were deep. In her 5th statement to police, given just a week after she broke up with Daniel following the disappearance, Malehya alleged a history of physical abuse. She described Daniel blocking her, holding her down, and even hurting her while trying to snatch her phone when she attempted to call her mother. Daniel Martell has fiercely denied these allegations, both to police and in public statements to the media, calling them a personal attack designed to cast suspicion on him. He insists that while they yelled, there was never physical violence. It's a classic, he said, she said, but in the context of a missing persons case, it provides a motive for tension and instability. The RCMP Behavioral Sciences Unit has been meticulously documenting these dynamics, trying to determine if domestic strife played a role in the children's disappearance. The timeline leading up to the 911 call also raises eyebrows. Malehya told police she kept the children home from school on May 1st because they had coughs. That night, she says she tucked them into bed around 10 p.m., Jack with his dinosaur and Lily with her cream corduroy backpack. She went to sleep and claimed she didn't hear a thing all night. Daniel stayed up, and she didn't know when he eventually came to bed. At 6:15 a.m. the next morning, she even marked him absent from school online. It wasn't until hours later that she claimed to find their room empty. But if they wandered off, why did they take their boots? Lily's pink rubber boots and Jack's blue dinosaur boots were gone, along with Lily's backpack. It was a cold May morning. If they left on their own, they were prepared for a walk, or someone prepared them. Perhaps the most chilling and baffling evidence discussed in the court documents concerns a pink blanket. On the day the children were reported missing, family members found a piece of Lily's blanket snagged in a tree on Lansdowne Station Road, exactly 1 kilometer from a house. 2 days later, police found another piece of the same blanket stuffed inside a trash bag at the end of the family's driveway. This discovery effectively shattered the theory of a simple wandering. Think about the physics of that. If a child is walking to the woods and drops a blanket, it doesn't end up in 2 pieces, one a kilometer away in a tree and the other in a garbage bag at home. This suggests deliberate human intervention. Someone may have torn or cut that blanket. Was it a marker, a sign of a struggle, or a clumsy attempt to misdirect the search? The RCMP sent the blanket for forensic testing, but the results remain a closely guarded secret. Adding to the confusion are the boot prints. Investigators found 2 different sizes of prints on a nearby pipeline, one matching the size and type of boot Lily was wearing. But the presence of clumps of prints suggests someone was standing or waiting rather than just passing through. Beside the prints, police seized scat that could be human or animal and a piece of purple fabric. Every piece of physical evidence seems to point to a specific location, the pipeline and the railroad tracks, yet the K-9 units could never pick up a scent. It's as if the children were there, and then they weren't. The physical evidence tells a story of presence, but the lack of a scent trail tells a story of a sudden, vehicular departure. In a move that gripped public attention, the RCMP conducted at least 7 polygraph examinations. Malehya, Daniel, and the children's biological father, Cody Sullivan, all sat for the lie detector. In Canada, polygraphs aren't admissible in court, but they are powerful investigative tools used to narrow a field of suspects. According to the documents, Malehya, Daniel, and Cody all passed. Their answers were deemed truthful. A step-grandmother's test was inconclusive, but the core circle seemed to clear the specific hurdle. The investigation into the biological father, Cody Sullivan, was particularly intense early on. Malehya had suggested to police that Cody might have snatched the children and fled to New Brunswick. Police went as far as checking surveillance footage at the Cobequid Pass toll plaza to see if his vehicle had crossed the provincial border. But Cody had a solid alibi. He hadn't seen the children in 3 years, and his financial records proved he was paying child support, contradicting Malehya's claims. Once he passed the polygraph, he was largely ruled out. However, passing a polygraph doesn't mean innocent. It just means the physiological markers for deception weren't triggered. The RCMP knows this. An unidentified investigator wrote in the documents that the polygraphs were conducted with the intention of ruling out criminality, yet the investigation remained open. If the parents and the father are telling the truth, then who else was near the property that night? The focus began to shift toward the neighbors' accounts and the strange reports of vehicles moving in the dead of night, sounds that the parents claimed they never heard. As the investigation enters its 9th month, the most tantalizing lead remains a witness report from Natasha Haywood. She told police she saw 2 children walking hand in hand toward an older Model Tan or gold sedan on the morning of May 2nd. Standing by the car was a woman, aged 50 to 60, with a loose curl haircut. This description matches no one in the immediate family. If true, it points to a coordinated abduction. But there's a catch. The RCMP reviewed thousands of hours of surveillance footage in the area and found no trace of this car. This creates a massive discrepancy. Neighbors reported hearing a car leaving and returning multiple times after midnight near the railroad tracks, the same area where the blanket and boot prints were found. One neighbor, Justin Smith, specifically heard a car turn around at 1:30 a.m. and drive toward the Sullivan home. Yet, the camera saw nothing. Is it possible a vehicle moved through the rural backroads, sticking to the shadows and avoiding the few eye points in the county? The most significant takeaway from the January 15th document release is a statement from Crown prosecutors. They noted that while there are currently no reasonable grounds to believe a crime has occurred, the investigation is expected to become criminal as it persists. The RCMP is now leveraging sophisticated technology-based investigative techniques, including high-end drones and advanced video review programs. They have 8,100 video files and over 1,000 tips. The net is tightening. Staff Sergeant Rob McCaman remains confident, stating that police are making headway and forming a picture of what happened. As the reward stands at $150,000, the question remains, is the truth hidden in the woods, or is it locked in the memory of someone who has already spoken to the police?